For some time now, the Taiwan Strait region has been the scene of Chinese military maneuvers that are increasingly raising questions and fears on the international scene. But something has been happening in recent months that has set off alarm bells around the world. Between 2023 and 2024, Beijing significantly stepped up its military exercises, including large-scale simulations of amphibious invasions and blockades. These actions are moving away from mere displays of force. They are suspected to be a carefully orchestrated rehearsal for something much bigger. According to a report by the US Department of Defense, the Chinese People's Liberation Army is preparing for a possible unification of Taiwan with the People's Republic of China by force. The report describes maneuvers ranging from air and sea blockades to missile attacks and a possible all-out invasion. What is most disconcerting, however, is not just the maneuvers themselves, but how China has transformed these activities into something almost routine. By normalizing these actions, it seems to be sending a message. This is what we can do. This is what could happen. The question is this a strategy of intimidation to deter any international support for Taiwan? Or are we seeing the first steps of an armed conflict that could break out in the near future? For Taiwan, the situation has become untenable. For the past year, Taiwanese forces have been on high alert, constantly monitoring Chinese activities. The recent arrival of 38 Abrams tanks, EME 1-2 TE models, part of a military package valued at more than $1.25 billion, marks a qualitative leap in its defensive capability. But is it enough to deter a power like China, which has been increasing its arsenal with more than 1,000 nuclear warheads projected for the year 2030? And this does not only affect Taiwan. The question on many experts' minds is, what will the United States do? The fact that Donald Trump returns to the presidency in 2025 introduces a new variable into this complex geopolitical chessboard. During his previous term, Trump significantly increased arms sales to Taiwan and adopted a friendlier stance toward the island. But would he be willing to commit American lives in defense of Taiwan? And if he does, would the United States be prepared for a direct conflict with a China that has expanded its naval fleet to more than 350 ships, the largest in the world? The impact of this conflict, if it breaks out, will not be limited to the Indo-Pacific region. We are talking about disrupted global supply chains, skyrocketing prices for technological products, and shaky financial markets. This is the scenario that could take place in 2025, a year that many are already pointing to as potentially explosive for international relations. We produce these reports on key economic, geopolitical, and financial issues to provide you with a perspective that strengthens your business analysis and knowledge of the global landscape, although they do not represent investment advice. We would really appreciate it if you could support us by subscribing to the channel. It's free, comment on the video, and share your opinion with the rest of the audience. Keep going! The report, Military and Security Developments Involving the People's Republic of China, published by the US Department of Defense, highlights how in 2024, these exercises became more frequent and aggressive, with simulations ranging from air blockades to amphibious invasions. These moves are not just practice, they are messages. The Beijing government seems to be sending a clear message to both Taiwan and the international community. We are prepared, and we would not hesitate to act if we deem it necessary. But how effective is this normalization strategy? Analysts believe that by carrying out these maneuvers so consistently, China is seeking to reduce the alarm generated by its military movements. In other words, it is trying to make the world see its deployments as something normal and ordinary. One of the clearest examples of this tactic was the Joint Sword exercise in October 2024. This included 34 warships and more than 120 aircraft simulating an all-out assault on Taiwan. Although officially presented as a defensive exercise, the attack patterns practiced and the use of new technologies suggest something more. Moreover, the participation of the aircraft carrier Liaoning marks a turning point in Chinese power projection. This strategy also extends to the use of coercive diplomacy. According to analyst Mark Rutte, NATO's Secretary General, China's intimidating behavior towards Taiwan is not only intended to undermine the island's morale, but also to send a message to the United States and its allies. Any intervention will come at a high cost. This is reinforced by China's growing investments in military technology and a nuclear arsenal projected to exceed 1,000 warheads in the next 6 years. But it's not all about military moves. Propaganda also plays a key role in China's strategy. State media has intensified the narrative that Taiwan is an indivisible part of China, shaping domestic public opinion to support possible military action. On social media and digital platforms, messages justifying unification by force if necessary are constantly promoted. On the other hand, China's actions also have economic implications. By progressively controlling the air and sea space around Taiwan, Beijing could paralyze global supply chains. This is already raising concerns among the region's major trading partners, which rely on the Taiwan Strait for the transport of key goods. Against this backdrop, international responses have been mixed. While the United States has stepped up its military support for Taiwan, other countries, such as members of the European Union, seem more concerned about the economic consequences of an open conflict. This leaves a big question. Can the international community stop China before its maneuvers turn into definitive actions? The year 2025 is shaping up to be a turning point in relations between China, Taiwan, and the rest of the world. According to geopolitical analysts, Beijing may be accelerating its timeline to attempt an invasion of Taiwan before international alliances are further consolidated. The reasons go beyond the military. Economic, diplomatic, and even domestic political factors are pushing China toward a more aggressive stance. Why 2025? A combination of factors could be behind this choice. First, the growing US military presence in the Indo-Pacific region, including the modernization of its bases in Japan and Guam, is sending clear signals of deterrence. But it is also forcing China to make decisions before these bases reach full operational capacity. Moreover, the strengthening of alliances such as the Quad, the US, India, Japan, and Australia represents a direct threat to Beijing's strategic interests. In this context, Donald Trump's re-election adds an additional layer of uncertainty. During his previous presidency, Trump significantly strengthened Taipei's engagement in forums and the international community. However, his new isolationist rhetoric and focus on avoiding protracted wars could lead Beijing to see a window of opportunity in Washington's strategic ambiguity. A conflict in 2025 would not only have military implications, but also economic ones. Taiwan, as a world leader in the production of advanced semiconductors, is a key pillar of technological supply chains. A conflict on the island could disrupt global microchip production, causing a massive impact on key industries such as automotive, electronics, and defense. In addition, financial markets could face unprecedented volatility. According to Bloomberg estimates, a war in Taiwan could reduce global economic growth by up to 10%, twice as much as the pandemic caused in 2020. This includes the possibility of international sanctions against China, which would affect not only Beijing, but also its major trading partners. But the impact doesn't end there. Food and energy security would also be at risk, especially for countries that rely on trade routes through the Taiwan Strait. A maritime blockade by China could cripple the flow of oil, gas, and food to key economies in Asia and beyond. Is the world prepared to handle these consequences? While some countries, such as Japan and Australia, are building up their military capabilities, others, such as members of the European Union, seem more concerned about the economic implications. The United States, for its part, faces the challenge of balancing its commitment to Taiwan with the need to avoid a direct conflict with a nuclear power. The big question is, how far would the United States be willing to go to defend Taiwan? Although the Taiwan Relations Act of 1979 does not oblige Washington to intervene militarily, the island's growing geopolitical and economic importance could force a change in the traditional posture of strategic ambiguity. Direct military intervention, however, would entail catastrophic risks, including the possibility of nuclear escalation. On this geopolitical chessboard, every move counts. Will China opt for force? Will the United States respond forcefully? And most importantly, what would this cost the rest of the world? These are the questions that will define not only Taiwan's future, but also the global balance of power in the decades to come. Tensions in the Taiwan Strait are not just a topic for geopolitical experts. They are a reality that could change the world as we know it. What does this mean for you, for families, and for ordinary businesses around the world? The consequences of a conflict between China and Taiwan could be felt in every corner of the planet, from food prices to access to the technology we use every day. Imagine a world where smartphones, electric cars, and computers become unaffordable because of a disruption in semiconductor production, or where the cost of living skyrockets because key shipping routes in Asia are blocked. These are not hypothetical scenarios. They are possible realities if current tensions escalate into armed conflict. Against this backdrop, the decisions made by leaders like Donald Trump, Xi Jinping, and other key players in 2025 will be crucial. Will they choose the path of diplomacy, or will the world witness a direct confrontation between the two largest economies on the planet? History has taught us that conflicts of this magnitude rarely benefit anyone. However, it has also shown us that inaction can be just as dangerous. For Taiwan, this is not just a question of political survival. It is a fight for its identity and its place in the world. The island is investing in its defense like never before, but it is also seeking alliances that will allow it to resist growing pressure from Beijing. Meanwhile, the international community faces a dilemma. Is it better to intervene and risk a world war, or to stand by and watch the global order be redefined? For you as a viewer, understanding these events is not just a matter of general interest. It is a way to prepare for what might come. Financial markets, local economies, and global supply chains will be shaped by what happens in this corner of the world in the coming years. That is why we cannot ignore the role of gold in this scenario. Historically, gold has been a safe haven in times of uncertainty, and 2025 could be a very turbulent year. In the video we showed on screen, legendary investor Ray Dalio reveals why you should have gold in your investment portfolio. And on our part, we added a detailed analysis of how the price of gold behaved amidst the geopolitical conflicts of this year, which will give you a very clear perspective to take advantage of the precious metal in the months ahead. Go watch that video, don't miss it, comment, subscribe, and thanks for watching.